Nebraska Soybean Management Field Days are going on around the state of Nebraska this week, and joining us now is Extension Educator Keith Glewen. And we wanted to talk to Keith. Keith is always very busy at these events, coordinating it, but this is a special year. This is the 20th anniversary of these events. We wanted to have a few moments with Keith. I know you're not one that sits and reflects, but wow, 20 years, where's the time gone?
Yeah, that's right. Where's it gone? I was 40. I hate to tell you, I was 45 when I started this, yeah. And it's been a great experience, though. I've personally, reflecting back, you know, we've had some great locations, great events. It's, you know, all in all, it's been really a good experience, and hopefully it's been a good experience for the Nebraska soybean grower.
Take us back 20, 21 years ago. How did this get started?
Okay, so I'm at Husker Harvest Days, and I run into some of the Nebraska Soybean Board people, and they were telling me how they were going to, were planning on bringing in a private entity to do field days. And at the time, our dean and director in Extension was Albert Dickey. And Albert says, you know, we're not going to let that happen. He says, we're going to shoot them a price they can't refuse, and we're going to put on a program for the Nebraska soybean growers. And we did. And we stole the show, so to speak. And fortunately, the Nebraska Soybean Board since then has felt it's a good investment of their grower education dollars. And we first just used the soybean plots as a backdrop. You know, they weren't replicated. We used them as demonstrations. And then a few years ago, a few being probably 5 or 7, a couple of the long-term trainers like Lauren Giesler says, you know, we go to a lot of work just for demonstration. Let's just expand this a little bit and collect some data and put out replicated, randomized research plots and take them to harvest and then share the results with the growers. So we go full circle. We get ideas from the growers and soybean checkoff board members on what they feel is important in terms of production, and then we try to discover the answers to those questions in the field, and then we print 23,000 copies that gets mailed out to every soybean grower in Nebraska sometime in February of the results. And they can always go online and look at last year's results. They're there as well. But that's pretty neat. And so the Soybean Board has been a great partner. They sort of just give us some direction on what they think is important and let us loose.
Well, you think back over the last 20 years, the different topics that have been covered. There are probably some that have just been tweaked probably on those 20 years because some of those challenges remain. But I'm looking here like the Diagnostic Center has been on hand and other things that have happened. And the other thing you bring in not only is it production, but you bring in the ag economists come in because that is also an important part of production.
Certainly. That's one presentation we have had every year since the first year, and that is something related to management, marketing, and policy. We know growers have a real interest in learning more and enhancing their skill set in regards to that. Growers will tell you, you know, I can grow 80 bushel beans. I may even grow a 90 bushel bean once in a while, but then it comes to marketing, that's where the challenge is. So we try to provide them with skills and information that help them in the management end of it.
Also want to ask you about over those 20 years, we won't necessarily count up, it's probably pretty close though, of how many different cooperators, how many different farmers and farm families that you know, but it's well over 100 now, isn't it? We're awful close to it.
Well, 20 years, 4 sites, that's 80.
That's 80, so
80, yeah. And that's an interesting point, Ken, in the fact that the thing I have discovered in driving around the state is not everybody grows soybeans the same way, and not everybody grows soybeans the same way. And we've been on the near the bluffs of the Missouri River, and we've been out to Red Willow County, McCook, and North Platte, and there's a culture associated with why they do what they do. And it's been handed down from generation to generation. And sometimes those things, those production practices need some fine tuning. They're no longer current, and no-till was probably a good example. And at furrow irrigation, you know, guys put in center pivots, but they still they build ridges, you know, and you wonder why are they doing it. So that's just an example. But we grow beans differently as we drive across the state, and that's really interesting.
Is this unique? Are there other programs with, in a sense, industry and land grants doing something like this anywhere in the soybean belt?
I'm not aware of it. Now there could be, but I'm just not aware of it. I got enough. I'm not aware of it, Ken.
Well, Keith, we sure appreciate the courtesies you've extended us over the years, and I think we added up. This is my 13th one I think I've been at, and so one way or the other, as far as 13th year anyway, and for a few years we were just about all of them helping tell the story. But appreciate it, and I know this is the only thing you do. I mean, you're also an educator throughout the year, so I don't know how you. I guess it keeps you young and keeps you moving.
There's some truth to that. There certainly is. I want to thank you, though, and the media in general for covering our programs, specifically this one. It's been a really good experience, as I said, and we look forward to continuing a partnership with the Nebraska Soybean Checkoff Board.
Great. Keith Glewen, Extension Educator, and who's been coordinating the Nebraska Soybean Management Field Days throughout the state of Nebraska this time of the year in August for now this 20 years. For AgView, they're Kennesaw. I'm Ken Rogers.